And we are live. Welcome to the MLB. Yes, you heard that correct from me, at least. Welcome to the MLB Live Before Lock show. I am Josh Engelman. That is Eric Lindquist, and we are here to break down some amount of game MLB slate, a 10, 11. I'm guessing off the top. I think something like that, right? A lot of games today on this lovely Tuesday slate. You will be well informed if you watched the strategy show earlier today or the perfect lineup, both available on this YouTube channel. So hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live. Follow us both on Twitter. Our Twitter handles are below our bodies. What's good, brother? Haven't seen you since the NBA streets.
Yeah, I was going to say, there were some people that came in and was like, oh, I haven't seen Eric on the show for forever. And I'm like, I've been here, that's for sure. But you haven't seen anybody on an NBA show in a while or an MLB show. So
no.
I'll try not to talk over you, try not to step on too many toes and get you acclimated to having somebody sitting sidecar for you. But yeah, talking MLB, you ready to rock?
I would prefer you to talk over me because right now, and look, people can take this however they want. Right now, I am not as well-versed as I will be in baseball in the next 2 weeks because I just haven't been paying attention to it on a day-to-day basis. What I do know how to do is look through the top stacks tool, look through the top value tool, use the sims, and rely on the data like I will always do. But remembering what team some of these idiots are on, yeah, that's going to be a tough one.
Yeah, it's all right. Overall, I mean, when it comes down to it, I think the stacking portion, this is probably the wrong way of doing it and kind of analyze it because it almost like minimalizes my role. But like, there's so much stuff that just is already baked in that I don't have to think about. The pitching is the thing that I think about the most. I always have. I probably always will. I think that there's ways of putting together a 150 portfolio that is somewhat risk averse, that also can be hyper aggressive, depending on what tournaments you're playing, depending on what style you play, depending on if you play every day. There's just so many ways to go about it, but we're playing this every single day. I'm just always trying to put together the best 150 lineups I can, trying to put together the best single entry lineup that I can, and then just kind of moving along with my day and not worrying so much about which batters go off today and which don't. I think it would behoove all of us to think about it more basically than that and letting the data do the work. But of course, we want to have opinions. We want to have stances. We want to have this and that. And that's kind of what makes the shows interesting. But overall, I feel like the stack portion of it just kind of falls into your lap.
I completely agree. I just feel more comfortable picking pitchers. Like I'm always interested in like some individual bats, thinking like they're in good spots. It would be cool if I have more of that guy in less a one-off, a two-man, a three-man, whatever. But when I see it, I feel like, and we all know this, pitching significantly more predictable than hitting. I feel a lot more comfortable making sure I'm getting the pitching spots that I want. And then the stacks are going to fill in behind it because every once in a while, I mean, not even every once in a while, every single day, you're going to get crap teams that hang a couple homers and, 8, 9, 10 runs, and you could win with anybody. It's not the same as NBA. It's a completely different vibe. This is always the toughest thing for me. Leaving NBA after 7 straight months of a largely predictable game, especially through the playoffs, and then diving back into baseball where it's just like, well, shit, I don't know who's going to hit a home run. Probably some idiot that looks like me is going to go yard today.
Yeah, the distribution is fun, though. Yeah, and I mean, obviously, pitchers can put up a -20. They can put up a 35, but most of the time, your distribution curve is going to be a little bit more enjoyable and palatable when you're playing more popular pitchers because they're more expensive. They're going to be the guys that traditionally are going to be the more predictable part of baseball. And then, yeah, Aaron Judge can go 0 for 5 today. You could also hit 2 bombs and you need him. But again, the Sims tool does such a good job of being able to encapsulate that better than I can in the back of my head, especially building out more than one lineup. With one lineup, you're able to go into the single lineup sim. And you and Lofty every single day are putting together. So, I mean, you've been talking baseball for sure and doing an amazing job with the perfect lineup. If you guys aren't checking that out here on the Stokastic YouTube channel, you have a chance to basically talk through the process of one lineup and one lineup to rule them all. And I think that's the kind of stuff that can really be, hey, I want to start here. I want to dive off here. And then I want to get into the Sims tool and kind of have it be like the gateway into the Sims tool, but truly letting better data do the job for you, especially in the batters department, I've always been a big fan of.
And for everybody that's curious, I love MLB DFS. It is probably my favorite DFS sport to play, save for like a big UFC card, because that's just like it's a very different vibe. Well, I guess MMA would be my top, but my most profitable sport is MLB DFS. So I am back in the streets that I am going to make some money in, and I'm happy to be here. This is going to be fun.
I'm nervous about this.
I got my dummy lineup saved as well, too.
Oh,
so
yeah.
That makes me feel good.
So MLB DFS was my first 5-figure win. It was like 2014 or 15. And it was really kind of like I want to do this every day. Like this is the good stuff. And I felt like the field, it took a long time in MLB DFS. And I still think it's making a lot of mistakes for what it's worth. We have the post-contest sim, and you're able to go through and kind of see what people are putting together, with the top players are putting together and how they're constructing their lineups. There are a lot of different ways, though, of going about it here. Whereas in an NBA DFS, I feel like there are concrete rules that if you don't follow, you're going to get buried. There are certain things you do with chalk in basketball that don't apply to baseball. It just doesn't. There are times that I'll see a pitcher like Spencer Strider when he was 20, 25%. I'm like, I'm playing 100% of him. That is such a rarity in MLB DFS, not something that I'm going to be doing very often. And people who tune into the show every single day kind of know that. But I'm with you. I think MLB DFS is like the most, I would say it's gotten closer to being solved when you look at top stack percentages and seeing how people are cutting up their lineups. But I still think that there's edge, and that's why we do this every day.
And that's what we're going to break down right now. We're going to start that off on the pitching side. The top two pitchers in the top pitchers tool, based on top two score at least, are Garrett Crochet and Freddie Peralta. Just so happens that those are also the two pitchers that Laffy used for the top pitchers tool. They happen to also be the top two pitchers in my exposures on my first run of 150 lineups. I'm curious, though. Are one of those two guys, or those two guys, either direction you want to go here, are you looking at it the same way?
Yeah, the Garrett Crochet thing's interesting because I actually find the Angels to be pretty live dogs from a betting perspective, which is where I kind of start things off at. But I still feel like from a DFS perspective, the strikeouts, man, I look at his distribution. You're looking at like 8.5, 9.5 in play in some spots where it's just, you don't get these kind of opportunities. You get to go up against an Angels team that sure enough brings the platoon in there, but it's not crazy hot outside. It's not going to be crazy hot down in Anaheim today by any means. And you get a 28% strikeout lineup here against Southpaws. That is what the Angels put up in a day in, day out basis. That's the highest that we get in the majors. And you get a guy in Garrett Crochet out there, just efficient. And I've been below the field quite a bit on Garrett Crochet throughout this entire season. This one, I feel more likely to embrace because of how I'm handling some of the Coors Field stuff. Plus, outside of Ohtani, there are some mispriced bats, I think, and even for Dodgers in Coors, and ways that we can kind of make that work and still get some ownership their direction. 11K is a hefty number, but I think if you're getting to one pitcher whatsoever today that you're just like, hey, out of the expensive guys, I'm going to be at or around the field on any of them, he is my guy. I'm going to be well suited there, right around 40% Garrett Crochet when it's all said and done.
I wonder why you don't like him that much. I've got 60 right now of the old Crochet man. The strikeout stuff is massive here. You outlined it. Laffy outlined it in the perfect lineup. I mean, we could even do this quickly. If I pull up his alt odds on, let's say FanDuel. 10.
Yeah.
Because that's not going to be too crazy, I don't think. Mm-hmm. 10 will be an oddly low line.
Yeah. So for what it's worth,
oh my God, it's way lower than I thought it was going to be.
It's a lot lower than it's. So when I first updated everything for Garrett Crochet, the main thing you have to pay attention to is the outs then too, like especially on FanDuel. I think there's ways that I'm probably okay with getting away from it on FanDuel, but his 8.5 on FanDuel best available is plus 118. So 9+ strikeouts plus 118. We're talking just south of the 50% number, like 47% implied odds for him to go over 8.5 strikeouts. Him getting to 10 is basically 2-1, like the 33% type number. you don't run into that very often. And if he can somehow get cleanly through this, which there's a lot of power there, I don't know. I feel more than comfortable having him in over a third of my lineups if a third of the time he's going to run into 10 strikeouts.
Plus 200 for 10 plus strikeouts today. Even just if we want to say, we'll compare him to our second guy in the top pitchers tool, in Freddie Peralta. Freddie Peralta to get 10 strikeouts is plus 560.
That's wild.
I get it. You're paying for it at 11K. It's worth it. Yeah,
the guy that I have for the most strikeouts today is Treek Skubal. He's not on the main slate. So his 10 strikeouts, I had it like fair odds of plus 185. I'm not going to play it at plus 195. Like, it's not really worth it at this point in time because I'm going to make mistakes when I project stuff like that out. And I always try to like have some kind of a threshold of like, oh, this is not the exact true odds. So I would need to beat it. Like, I'd need to beat the market by a little bit more to make it a play for me. Otherwise, I just don't trust basically what I'm looking at. Not that I don't do a good job, I think, of projecting it, but like, I don't want to have that be like the barometer of me making a play or not. Otherwise, I'm just going to have 1,000 bets on every single MLB card, especially in the batter department. So you got to have a little bit of error baked in there. But even still, Garrett Crochet is ridiculous on this slate in terms of what his strikeouts can be. But can he get through a Los Angeles lineup that has a 194 ISO against lefties? That's the other major question, because there's leverage you can find with like one or two bats. I'm probably not going to play 5-mans. Are you going to roll out 5-mans of the Angels in 150?
I don't have a lot of it. I have 2%. So 3 of them, I guess.
I like the idea of like 1 or 2 bats in a couple of lineups, though. That's definitely the path that I'm taking more of.
Let's see. I really just don't have too much of the Angels, but I like where you're going with that. I got to hit this first. News God hit us with a member message. Eric, I'll hit like if you sing Dong of the Day. It's a song now?
Yeah, so you're not going to like me when we get to that portion. You might. There's moments where you're just like, really? I
gotta wait till that portion?
Just saying. It's going to be special. Just wait. We got the graphic. You see it in there. So just click on that graphic when we get to the end of the show. And I'm going to try to tune my inner spags, which is creepy to say it that way. But,
Hold on. I got to find out where this graphic is because it might not be where I think it is. Where does Greg normally... Is it under the Greg? Is it under the U thing? Nope.
I'll pull it for you. I got it.
I'll hunt around for it. I'm on MLB Strategy as the media assets.
Yeah, it might be in the Greg section of the deal, or NBA Deeper Dive Live Before Lock. It might be. There it is. Yep.
Okay.
This little beauty right there.
Oh. Okay. Got it. All right. I'll get to that in a bit. Let's get back to this. Does it say NBA on it anywhere? It doesn't. Perfect. We're good to go. Okay. Anything else you want to add for Garrett Crochet? Because I think he's kind of the easiest guy to talk about based on our data.
I think he is too. If you're playing one lineup, I'm probably still not getting away from Garrett Crochet, if I'm being honest, even though I'm below like the 50% marker. This just has more to do with like Framber Valdez for me, who I think is very interesting for tournaments at 9,500. You're saving 1,500, and just amongst the expensive guys, I mean, Freddie Peralta, Framber Valdez. I don't want to even talk about some of the cheapies, Tyler Anderson in that same game, though. I talked about him being a live dog. He might be a little bit of the reason why we got some strikeouts available to us with the Red Sox lineup they roll out every day now. Devers is definitely a better bat than most to be losing in that lineup, even left on left. But yeah, amongst the expensive guys, Crochet's kind of on an island of his own on this slate.
Well, for me right now, I'm really only taking stands on the 3 best arms that we have. Crochet, Peralta, Valdez. I'm over the field on all 3, and I'm essentially not over the field on anybody else. I'm neutral to Tyler Anderson. He is my most exposed value arm. I'm neutral to Ryan Nelson. He is my second most exposed value arm, quite a bit behind Anderson. And then I don't have anybody else more than 7%. So what are you seeing from this pitching slate where you're going to try to take a stand?
Oh, are we going to get right into the absolute disgustingness that is Taj Bradley today against Kansas City? Are we going to do that?
We can.
Okay. So Taj Bradley and a lot of the Tampa Bay guys, I mean, we have to look at this and the Athletics in a different light this season. It is a much worse home ballpark for a guy like Taj Bradley. Day in, day out, you just have to deal with small dimensions, outdoor facilities. We got to deal with way more different, like you can't even use Taj Bradley year over year from previous seasons because it just doesn't even make sense, especially when you look at like home road splits for things. Like it's just a drastically different environment for somebody like Taj Bradley. And now you get him against Kansas City, which is obviously not a good matchup, but like, I'm just going to pull up the splits over on Fangraphs because I think this is kind of the thing that just continues to jump out at me. His strikeout rate is way lower at home than what it is away in the course of this season. And I think that makes tons of sense. He has a 3.89 xFIP at home, 4.50 xFIP away. But like, I do think that it's just far more difficult on a day in, day out basis. And then also the fact that he's in the AL East, taking on the Yankees, taking on the Blue Jays, taking on the Orioles that, despite a slow start, still have some bats in the lineup, starting pitching a lot more of their problems this season. I think there's guys like this. I don't really feel the same way with the Athletics today or anything like that, but like, I think there are times that we're going to undervalue some of these pitchers, swapping them out from one game environment to another. And Kauffman, it's traditionally been a pitcher's park. It's not great in terms of a game environment today for pitching because I mean, we're just getting some of this heat and humidity everywhere. It's 89 degrees with the wind blowing out, but I still think Taj Bradley's one of those guys that when you get him on the road in some of these other game environments, I'm probably going to end up higher on him than the rest of the field. And then you add in the Coors Field equation. I'm looking for something in this mid-range that isn't crazy popular that I'm trying to pair with Dodgers. They're 29% top stack. Everything about it just makes sense for me to try to find shots in this mid-range. And I think Verlander might end up more popular taking on Miami in San Francisco. His swinging strike rate's better than what you might expect for a guy with his strikeout rate. And so I get it. But if he ends up a little bit more popular, I just know Taj Bradley's not getting pushed up. And I still think his stuff is worthy of us talking about him as somebody to be 3-4x the field on at 5%.
How is Justin Verlander still in the majors?
Kate Upton.
Well, that's sort of my point. Like, wouldn't you want to retire immediately?
He just had another kid too. I think he was on the paternity list recently. So
He's
shout
2
out.
years older than me.
It's not great, Bob. No, it's great for him. I mean, he continues to find ways to get it done. And it's Miami. So Miami doesn't have a crazy strikeout lineup, especially now with some of the other pieces that have fallen by the wayside. I mean, they got rid of who's that first baseman? I can't remember his name right off the top of my head. Chettle remind
Jeff
me.
Conine.
But he had yeah, that's it. He had like a 40% K rate earlier this season. They sent him back to AAA. But the lineup that they roll out, Jesus Sanchez probably going to be in the 2-hole up there. I don't have the Miami lineup, so I'm assuming that it's not in yet. But Jesus Sanchez, 22.5% K rate. Kyle Stowers, 28.4 is definitely going to be on the high end for it. But like Xavier Edwards doesn't strike out. Agustin Ramirez, this is basically just like a bet on a guy pitching deeper into the game and having your stacks win you the slate. Justin Verlander, it's an okay profile for him here, but I'm not crazy excited to play him if he's going to be chalky. He's got a 4.56 xFIP this season. You go through a lot of like his splits as well. I think it's going to get better as we go along. Like some of his specific data, I just absolutely lost it on my sheet. But like overall, it's a Miami team that we don't expect to put up a ton of runs. It's the best ballpark you can be pitching in. It's a mid 7K Verlander. Like there's a number of cases to be made where like him at 10%, you push that to 20. I think it makes sense on this specific slate if you don't get crazy ceiling performances from Crochet, Peralta, Valdez.
Because I don't want to get burned at the stake here. FanDuel pitchers, obviously slightly different. You're not rostering two of them. Top 1% scoring is on the screen. Very flat when you remove that second pitcher. Crochet, top 1% at 12. Next guy, 7, 7, 6, 6. Like it is very, very flat at the top. Do you want to approach this differently on FanDuel, or is this just a spot where you're like, shit, whether it's Crochet, Peralta, Valdez, Rodon, Strider, like everything at the top based on where the ownership is and where the top 1% is. Does it even matter to you today, or are you just happy to get any of these real arms?
So if we're going to talk about FanDuel, I always build out one lineup on FanDuel just to be able to talk about it somewhat intelligently. Group it by ownership quick, because this is a huge difference between the two slates. You have crazy ownership on Michael McGreevy. It is wild to see Michael McGreevy pulling this kind of ownership on FanDuel. And when I saw that this morning, I thought, man, I'm going to play a lot on FanDuel today. And then I kind of realized, it kind of makes sense when you have a $5,300 Shohei Ohtani that it's going to be a cheap pitcher that gets pushed to the top. And McGreevy and Anderson, the two things going on for them, when you're just kind of like looking at your props and you're kind of like allocating, like, why does this make sense? Why are they pulling this? If you go to the pitcher outs tab and you take a look like around at any sports book today, McGreevy's one of those guys that you're just hoping that you're getting the quality start bonus out of him. You're hoping that he runs into some more strikeouts than projected, but like he's at plus 145 for over 15 and a half outs. I would play damn near 0% Michael McGreevy today. That's the whole point that I'm getting at, is like, I don't see what planet Michael McGreevy pulls this kind of ownership. Oh yeah, you pulled up the sportsbooks out right there. Plus 145. Explain that to me. Why it is that on FanDuel, everybody wants to go run to the window to go play him. Nothing about it makes sense to me. Nothing about it am I interested in. I thought maybe it was an error, but it's maintained throughout the entire day. I think on FanDuel, this is the spot to jam Crochet and Valdez. It's less than 15% total ownership between the two. And you look at Valdez, his 18 and a half, I played the over of it, plus 105, Josh. We're talking basically half the time I'm getting quality, like way more than half the time. You're talking like minus 200 for him to get to 18 outs. And then you look at the total runs, 1.5 being his earned run line. Everything about it, when you simulate it out 10,000 times, is going to just scream, play more Valdez on FanDuel. So at 5%, 4% now, he's my favorite pitcher, bar none, between both sites relative to their ownership.
Yeah, I'm taking a look at McGreevy right now. Obviously, a small sample size across this year and last year. 278 pitches thrown to lefties, 203 x ISO, 390 x WOBA. So whether that's Ian Happ, whether that's Kyle Tucker, PCA, Bush, I mean, there's a lot of lefty power here getting ready to blast off on him. And he is the most owned guy on FanDuel. I don't want to say that he's chalk, because 16.8% isn't like chalk, but as the most owned guy, he is live to get absolutely blasted, which is truly scary. I want to stick to this not 9K, 10K range on the FanDuel end for sure.
Yeah, me too. And it's tough because you have Ohtani, you have Judge. Yeah. I mean, Ohtani's 55% owned at 5,300. That's the push and pull of this slate, is the Judge, Ohtani, Dodgers stack, and the expensive pitchers, because we have upside that exists across all of the spectrums. Not even to mention Cal Raleigh on DK, where you can, you're having to play a catcher. It's less imperative. He's not pulling any ownership relative to like Freddie Freeman, Will Smith over on FanDuel, but like, I think it's a very fascinating FanDuel ownership that we're just looking at from pitchers and how it all fits together and molds together, because Ohtani is just such an important piece day in, day out over there because of what he can do. He's got a 3.5 hit plus run plus RBI prop, which I can't remember seeing in quite some time. I think the last time that existed was like last season when Ohtani showed up in Coors Field. So it's tough to say no to. He puts up 10. He's probably somebody that you're all right with. Puts up 18. That's kind of like a median, like it's a middle of the road performance. He puts up a 40 spot. You just absolutely need him on FanDuel. And it's well within the range against Senzatella here today, or against Herman Marquez today. So like, I am very interested in just fading the whole bottom end of the board there between Tyler Anderson, McGreevy. I think FanDuel is an awesome opportunity to win some money.
Are we missing anybody else on the DraftKings side? Whether that's Strider in New York, Rodon at 10-7 in Cincinnati. I mean, ball's going to be flying out of that park today. I mean, you got Luis Castillo sitting there at 8,200. We mentioned Valdez before. just in that top section. I mean, we have 5 guys, all 9K plus, all, let's call it 15% or higher, top 2 pitcher. Some guys like Strider and Rodon showing pretty sizable positive leverage. I mean, Strider and Rodon are both 5% owned compared to those other 3 guys. Is that a spot we should be looking a little bit more, thinking like, if these guys are just going to be this low owned, should we be, this is like a natural spot to just have 2x Strider, 2x Rodon?
Yes and no. I mean, you're basically asking something to happen to Crochet to some extent. They have 6.5K props. And when you talk about like the distribution, the difference between like a 7.5 juiced majorly towards the over for Crochet, 8.5 basically with small plus money towards that over. And then you see 6.5. I did play the over on Carlos Rodon strikeout prop today. So, you know, obviously it's something that I'm somewhat interested in. It's got plus money attached to it. And then you're getting Great American Small Park in fantastic hitting conditions, which, you know, you're generally going to get because it's the best ballpark you could possibly be in just for straight out power. Not that there's a ton of it outside of Ellie De La Cruz. Matt McClain started to have a pulse after a slow start to season. Tyler Stevenson, a late addition to this team as he, you know, was out for the first month and a half, 2 months of the season. Reese Hines, Jose Trevino, not a very imposing back half of the lineup, but just are the strikeouts available in the same way that they are for Crochet in the absolute nut strikeout matchup in LA? I argue very much no. And that's where, like, if you want to get to a little bit of them, I'm all right with it, but I'm not going to play 2 of them. I don't know, 11K, 10-7 Rodon is just not going to show up in my pool. And then Spencer Strider, I think, is a great shout out. I jammed him last slate against the Mets, and now he's playing the same team again in much better hitting weather, 97 degrees, barometric pressure a lot lower today for what it's worth. So not going to have it flying nearly as much as what we saw, you know, potentially yesterday, even though 2 homers in the entire game. But Spencer Strider stuff just looks back. His velocity is back up 2 ticks in his last 2 starts. It's a big deal to me, getting north of that 98 mile per hour mark for a guy who used to just blow by people. And now I don't know if he's ever going to be that guy again, but he looked pretty damn good to me and worthy of jamming at the last slate. And now you're getting him at 6%. I am overweight, but I have 9%. It's not like I'm making some crazy stand. Are you?
I wish I was. I'll anytime he plays, I'd like to have as much as I can get just because
you're
he's Spencer Strider.
I forget that.
And he's on the Atlanta Braves, but I have 3% of him. It doesn't appear that that's going to be a direction I'm going. I would happily play more just by default. I mean, 8 Ks, 1 walk last time out, 13 Ks, 1 walk the game before that. I mean, he just had an absolutely excellent start last time out against the Mets. Can he run that back again?
Yeah, I don't know.
Probably.
I hope so, because I love Spencer Strider. I sound like I've bet every strikeout prop over, but I've gotten some nice CLV. I bet his over 6.5 strikeouts too. So we talked about Rodon, Strider. I'm on both of their overs, but again, there was pretty hefty plus money attached to both when I don't necessarily agree with it. 7 strikeouts still probably doesn't get me in the range of a Garrett Crochet today. I'm just saying, like, the chances of Garrett Crochet failing, like straight out failing to me today, and having it be like a necessity to be on Strider as opposed to Crochet, or a Rodon as opposed to Crochet, it feels very low to me. They could beat him out. They could beat him out in top 2 percentage. And I think on this specific slate, I'm not going to worry about it too much.
Do you have any other pitchers that you want to talk about?
Yeah, Chase Burns, because everybody's talking about him today. He is the electric rookie. He was the number 2 pick in 2024. And I broke down a lot of his stuff yesterday. The number 1 problem is that we don't have Stuff Plus to kind of like rely on when it comes to, because again, this is kind of the advancement in my progression and like breaking down a pitcher. I want to look at Stuff Plus. I want to see, what does it actually do? Like, what is that fastball going to do at the big league level? I don't know. He had 2 AAA starts, Josh. It's really hard for me to say that there's anything there. Now, was he an absolute stud at Wake? Yes. Did I watch him pitch a lot? Yeah, he was incredible then. He has a fastball slider, 70-70 grade on Fangraphs, 60-70 slider. Scouts absolutely rave about that combination, but you don't know until he gets here. And this is like the worst spot you could drop him into. And I was very curious where books were going to drop his strikeout prop at. 4.5. I mean, it's a little bit thin for me at 8K. If he was 7K, this would be a really fun talking point, but I'd much rather dip to Ryan Nelson. On DK, I think 6,800 Michael McGreevy, after all of the nonsense that we talked about on FanDuel with him, I think he's in play, but like I do worry about the lefty power. I'm very heavily invested. Kyle Tucker, PCA again today. And then Taj Bradley, kind of my mid-range guy that I talked about. The K props for Heaney, for Berger, for Ty, like nobody else is really all that appealing to me further down the board. Chris Bubich in 9K is just kind of like a no man's land to me. And Luis Castillo gets the Twins matchup, but I hate him. I absolutely refuse to play Luis Castillo, this version of him, on the road in Minnesota in this weather. So for me, that kind of does it for pitching.
Yeah, the Burns one's tough. 5.6 run implied total for the Yankees, second highest to any team other than the Dodgers in course. So not a great look. That's kind of scary. I mean, the stuff seems electric. Yeah, you're going to need a lot of electricity today against the Yanks.
Well, they could provide it on the bat side of it. And I think that's where I'm more interested in this one, is kind of like, if you have these, and we see this all the time, first start, 21-year-old kid coming in, or I guess, how old is he? I don't know how old he is. I know he's very, very young, considering he was in college last year and the number 2 pick in the draft. But I went through a lot of his stuff.
He is 22.
22. I just tried to figure out, like, was there a planet where you could take an over on anything? Over on earned runs was about the only thing I could like concoct with some of those numbers that we were looking at, and I'm just staying away from it. I'll evaluate it like everybody else after one start and just kind of see where the stuff plus lands and where it actually grades out at. Scouts love it. We'll see when we get all of the fancy metrics that we have these days at the MLB level.
Well, for the 700 plus people that are in attendance for MLB Live Before Lock right now, please do me a favor, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. We're happy to have you guys here. We're here every single day doing MLB Live Before Lock. There are links in the description of this video, whether you're looking to sign up for our MLB Sims packages. We've got those for weeks and months, if that's what you're looking for. You can get an all-access package. That'll cover you for all of the baseball we're going to talk about, whatever slate you're looking for. Golf every single weekend. MMA every single weekend. NASCAR is here. I know we don't have NFL yet, but it is coming very soon. And then basketball will be here again in October, which I cannot wait for. But if you want to sign up right now, it's very simple. The links are in the description of this video. You mentioned stacks before. The Dodgers are pretty high in top stack, I guess. 28%, which is 20% higher than the second team listed here. That would be the Yankees. The Dodgers are 3 times as likely, and then some, to be today's top stack. They're also pulling significantly more ownership than everybody else. What the hell do you want to do with the Dodgers today? Because we've obviously talked a lot about payout pitching that looks good. How do you get those guys and the Dodgers? Or don't you?
You can. I will say this, Michael Conforto's broken. So congratulations to him on the double dong today. I've been just jamming a lot of his under hit props and things of that nature, tailing some smarter people than myself that have just basically been early to the party on that. Dodgers are probably going to be removing him from the lineup post trade deadline because there's just not going to be a place for him to play baseball anymore. Still functional for the time being, but Ohtani, 7,200 on DK. Absurd stuff. Teoscar Hernandez, 5,800, probably understandable, but the rest of this team is not all that cost prohibitive. Like Freeman is 6,200. He's been, it's been brutality. It doesn't matter. Herman Marquez is the guy on the other side. Will Smith can win you the position pretty darn easily there. And I think Max Muncy, third base, 4,900, my favorite of everybody over on the Dodgers outside of Ohtani. And the Sims tool is just echoing this. This is so easy to still find the one-offs or 2 pieces of the Dodgers. The question, I guess, is like what you want to do with them in full 5-mans. And like, is it still viable to get there? I think you should be somewhat invested in them, but I'm right now currently around 18% Dodger 5-man. So I'm below the field by quite a bit. I think there's a lot of really good opportunities with some really low-owned stacks, but I will not be foregoing Ohtani. I will not be foregoing Will Smith. I will not be foregoing Max Muncy. Those are going to be kind of my 3 like absolute staples of the Dodger lineup.
What did you say your 5-man stack was?
18%. So nope, last run 12%.
Oh, okay. Slightly higher than mine. I have 1.3.
Oh, so you are what you call below the field.
A bit, yeah. Now I have a lot of them as one-offs, two-mans, three-mans. So it's not stopping me from getting Ohtani. I have 37% of Shohei Ohtani, but he is not coming in major Dodger stacks. He's filling out the rest of my trash. And we will get to the rest of my trash as we continue to talk about some of these stacks. Let's hit Mr. Cool Cam's super chat quickly. Favorite stack in a FanDuel tourney if you're paying up at pitcher?
The Washington Nationals.
Go for it.
The Colorado Rockies also pretty high up there for me. FanDuel.
I'd say just based on where I see the value metrics here, based on stack score and value, Red Sox, Diamondbacks, both pulling decent top value marks on FanDuel. We're seeing Arizona number 1 in top value, Boston number 2. Technically, the Dodgers are 3, but that's probably not going to help you out if you're paying up a pitcher. Both of those teams, stack score of 5, that's 3rd and 4th. I think that's probably where I would be leaning, trying to squeeze the value out of one of those two.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, I went 2 more off the board stacks for FanDuel purposes. Those are the 2 that I stacked up. So it is for my one lineup that I'm kind of looking at where if you get, everybody's going to get really low ownership that isn't a Dodger stack. And then FanDuel has a couple of like other interesting avenues. So we've got a lot more ownership coming in on the Yankees over there. I'm inclined to get away from that. I think San Diego on the other side against Trevor Williams looks really, really good. Only 4%. So they're maybe on the lower end there. I think what's really interesting to me on FanDuel though, if Tyler Anderson is going to be your second most popular pitcher, looking at Boston stacks, I know he's going to pull around 20% ownership on DK. I'm actually just fine with that. And I'm not looking for a ton of leverage there. On FanDuel, where he's 15%, Josh, I could really get behind some Boston Red Sox backs.
By the way, we did get the Marlins lineup if you were waiting on that.
I was, because I do.
And if you're asking me if somebody's in it or out of it, I don't know who was supposed to be in it, but I do know who's in it now.
It's exactly what we had projected. So 1 through 9, no changes.
Can I hit you with my big stack stands? I have 5 of them.
Would love to hear them.
We'll work from back to front. 5th most exposed stack. This is 2x the field, but every one of these is at least 2x, if not 3 or 4 or 5. The Chicago White Sox in at the number 5 spot.
Love.
The Arizona Diamondbacks in at 4.
Don't love
the San Diego Padres in at 3.
Love a lot.
That is the team that I took in the perfect lineup.
Love.
Kansas City Royals in at 2. So right in Taj Bradley's face.
Hey.
And then the Boston Red Sox are my most exposed stack for today.
Yep. They're fantastic, especially FanDuel, but DK, again, I'm not as high on DK for them as what you are, but if I were playing more lineups on FanDuel, I guarantee you I'd get to quite a bit of them. I currently have in my 150, I'm running one more thing of it here too, making sure that the Marlins are correct on everything. Yeah, they are. I have 2% Boston. I'll give them a tiny tap. I'll give them a little ROI boost and see what we have happen there, because I do like the idea if Tyler Anderson's going to potentially be more popular. I'm just of the mind that, like, you see Justin Verlander in San Francisco, if he's going to be sub 10%, I know it's been brutality for him to start off this season, but I think there's better performances coming his way. And even still, I'm just kind of like, all right, the field probably recognizes that on a Coors Field slate, that they're looking for something. If he gets teamed up, I'd be frustrating, but go ahead.
Kristaps Porzingis to the Atlanta Hawks for Terrence Mann, the number 22 pick. And then George Niang to the Celtics. Terrence Mann in that number 22 pick heading to the Brooklyn Nets.
Are they going to shoot 60% threes this year? Like, are they just going to wait for Tatum to come back and hopefully he comes back in like April? And by then they've just legitimately shot 60% from, or 60% total 3-point attempts, and just hope that they, you know, top 3 seed, move on with your life.
Kind of like that deal for the Hawks, but I'll dig into that later. Sorry, it just popped up. I had to. So NBA and they get me.
Terrence Mann, weird. I think that's an interesting one for Boston. they're trying to replace his defense. I mean, Terrence Mann has that.
No. Terrence Mann is going to Brooklyn. George Niang is going to Boston.
Oh, Jesus. Okay. I heard that wrong. I heard that backwards. Okay. Well, George
Boston's
Niang,
just saving a boatload of money here. That's all it is.
Yeah, that's not anything to me. Other than George Niang, Iowa State, great. Shout out my alma mater. Go team.
So we talked about the Dodgers a bit here. I mentioned my stands on Boston, KC, San Diego, Arizona, White Sox. My question to you is simply this. Of all those teams that I'm taking a bit of a stand on, did any of those really make your stomach turn?
The Kansas City one, I'm obviously not a fan of because Taj Bradley is somebody that I'm taking a pretty pronounced stand on as an SP2 and somebody that I like. But is there still undeniable problems with Taj Bradley? Yes, but it's kind of like factored into the ownership. It's also 90 degrees with the wind blowing off and blowing out in Kaufman. Yeah. So like it's a definite terrifying spot for a guy in Taj Bradley who has not been nearly as good for him this time around. Tampa Bay's starting pitching is starting to figure it out. And Taj Bradley, 6.5% barrel percentage makes me happy. 394 expected slugging makes me happy. Like there's a lot of things that I can point to say, hey, positive regression coming for him. He has a 355 xWOBAcon. That's the best mark of his entire MLB career. 3.82 expected ERA, the best mark of his career. It's just that it's really hard to encapsulate what's going to happen against a team that doesn't strike out a lot. And if he's not getting swing and miss with the split finger, the cutter has been overproducing, I would say, with a 33.9% whiff percentage. I expect that to come down. And you get bad on ball for guys like Bobby Witt, Sal Perez. I mean, they are lineup winners. Like they win their position a lot. Double, 2-3 hits. They find so many ways. I mean, Bobby Witt routinely one of the guys top 3 or top 4 on the board in terms of the 2 hits market. So that's something that I always find to be a little bit sneaky and fun when you're only at one position, you're only rosterable there. There's interesting batters on Kansas City, but I'm not a huge fan of that. I will say I love the White Sox one. I'm going right back to the well. Yesterday, I thought that they were a great stack against Eduardo Rodriguez. Eduardo Rodriguez shoved it right in all of our faces. He ended up more popular than projected, and he spun a gem, but different handedness, Ryan Nelson. And I just don't trust Ryan Nelson in any way, shape, or form. Has he been abysmal? Not really, but the stuff is like fine too. He has a 107 stuff plus, like 105 pitching plus. Like Ryan Nelson has been a lot better than people think, but it's basically all just the fastball. Nothing else in his offerings are all that interesting to me. So I'm not a huge fan of the White Sox on any given day. I'm a big fan of them today in this game environment.
18% top value, more than double the next best value stack, if that's what you're looking for. You mentioned bats before. Have we reached the time where you are going to regale us in song?
Oh, we got 11 minutes still. We'll hold off for 1 second.
I don't know when I'm supposed to do it.
Oh my God. I don't know. Bobby Witt Jr., now that said that, I just reran our stuff. I have so much of him at shortstop as a one-off. Holy shit. Might be my most popular one-off. This is annoying. Also, something
Bobby
named
Witt Jr.
Nate Eaton for Boston, 2200. Nate Eaton. That's a make-believe person. Yeah, no, that's a creative player. So that's fun.
Sure is.
Arizona, also, you brought up, I think, as well. I like individual pieces. Jake McCarthy, when you got the scratch there as well. Who was it that got scratched? It was Josh Naylor. He got dinged up yesterday as well as Eugenio Suarez. And Naylor ends up getting pulled out of the lineup. And Jake McCarthy is 3K outfield batting 5th. Cash viable if you absolutely need to go that direction. I know it looks wonky in cash today because there's going to be like single-digit ownership guys that could potentially be in your lineup depending on how you construct it. I think he's probably my favorite of those pieces. So if you're playing cash today, that's somebody that I expect to not have any pinch hit risk with all the injuries there.
Okay. I had the top batters tool pulled up before. Bobby Witt sitting here with the highest shortstop projection of anybody on the slate. An actual positive value relative to his salary, 19.5% chance at a home run. If anybody is ever interested in our top batters tool, we break it all down by individual batters. I think you guys are looking for a specific batter, maybe someone that could hit a home run or has a big dong. I'm not totally sure what we're trying to pick here from these people, but If it's a prediction on crotch size, I'll probably be better than picking home runs.
Hit the damn graphic then.
I will hit the damn graphic. Do it.
Dog of the day, dog of the day. Look at Josh, he's gonna take a dong inside of his mouth because he's a motherfucker. Yeah, dong of the day. Watch him go. Yeah, we're gonna go with the dong of the day, with the dong, with the dong, with the dong of the day.
There it is, everybody. Dong of the day is here. Time to pick one. I was not ready for that. That was not I wasn't expecting the I believe in a thing called love guy.
It was a little bit.
I was assuming a little bit a different genre of music, but that's fine. We can work with that. So who is it? That's what we need to know.
I hate you. I hate you. How about that? No, sorry.
That's fair.
Where were the cha-cha?
No need to apologize.
I forgot. Emac always sings this to me after the fact too, but Spag started this whole mess. Like the first month,
it sounded like a Spags gimmick.
It was a Spags gimmick, and now it's taken on a life of its own that it probably should die. But here we are, Loco. What are we doing here? Let's go.
You can't make that die. That's got to stick around.
All right, let's go. I got a couple. I talked about Washington, and Washington's a stack that I'm kind of very much higher on. So obviously there's some late swappability. Not that that's something I'm that worried about in MLB, but CJ Abrams, you talked about shortstop Bobby Witt. We've got Mookie Betts, who's kind of been, I bet he comes in a little bit lower, even in Coors Field, just because of where he's been in terms of what have you done for me lately? I don't give a shit about that stuff, but I care about CJ Abrams taking on, we're talking about stuff plus a lot today. Let's go to somebody who has absolutely none of it. And Ryan Berger with an 88 stuff plus, 96 pitching plus. He basically gets by on location. He's had all of 24 major league innings, and he gives up high fly ball, 19-degree contact. Him, James Wood, Luis Garcia Jr., they are big parts of my slate today. So north of 10% on all three of those lovely human beings. CJ Abrams, dong of the day.
CJ Abrams, dong of the day, just so people can see it, because we can pull that up in the top hitters tool. 13% chance of home run in our data, $5,300 hitter here. I like 13%. I got a slightly different guy here. This is one that I actually dug into earlier today. So I have the data. Now, if you watch the perfect lineup, you know we took the Padres. And the reason that I wanted to take the Padres is if you're going to find anything today in this matchup, because they don't get the benefit of a good park. They're not getting 900-degree weather. But I'm going to try to corner the market on Trevor Williams, giving up some lefty power. And if I'm going to have to go to lefty power,
Jackson Merrill.
I want to go right here. You got it. Jackson Merrill, 21% chance for a home run today in our model. He is a guy that I've got a big stand on. I'm well over the field on San Diego stacks, and we called them out on the perfect lineup earlier today. But that is the lefty spot that I want to look at. Mashes righties, 249 x ISO over the past 2 years, 563 plate appearances. So the power, as we all know, is real. And I like to make myself feel better about like small sample pitch stuff if it works in my favor, and this one does. The biggest problem for Trevor Williams has been his slider against lefties. That's the one that everybody just blasts off on. 59 plate appearances for Jackson Merrill, 235 x ISO against those sliders. That would not be why I make a decision, but it certainly makes me feel better when those things are in lockstep. Ultimately, it's just lefty on righty, and I want to try to get a little bit more Merrill. So I talked about him earlier today, and I'm talking about him now.
I love all those lefties. I mean, even 7-hole Jake Cronenworth, the guy with a 167 ISO against righties, 131 WRC plus. So he's done absolutely amazing things overall. I'm a big fan of basically everything. Gavin Sheets got quite a bit of as well. San Diego, my 4th highest owned stack on DK.
For those that care, I have 18% of Jackson Merrill. That is my 4th most exposed outfielder, and I am 3x the field. So I'm backing it up, folks. He's in my stuff, and we've got 4.5 minutes to go until we're locked. Have we gotten the Nats lineup yet?
We haven't. I'm just going to go through a couple of these homers as we're just listing them off here. Ref Snyder, because this is kind of Greg's thing. He always goes through Teoscar Hernandez from Aaron Hines. We got Judge. Okay, Greg, burner account, Van Dam NYC. Jackson.
Can we pause for a second quick?
Yeah.
I wanted to talk shit on that one when I saw Greg posted earlier today. What a cowardly home run pick.
Yeah, I tweeted at it. I said, the answer is yes, we should give him shit for this. And so I did all day. Jackson Merrill from G Joiners 73. We got Gavin Sheets. Love it. Nate Eaton, the create-a player that is apparently a Boston Red Sox, but also probably has people in his basement. We got Freddie Freeman, Hoskins going dong. That's always fun. How about a Mead dong? We're going to 1,700, and we're going to have some Mead with our home run for Tampa Bay against Kansas City. So good luck with that. Andy Diaz dong of the day. Usually it's in Eric's mouth. That's not very nice. We got Jack Caglione. Don't nod your head. Freddie Freeman. We got Cody Bellinger. We got Sal Perez, Steer and Olsen, Schwarber. So left on left. Did you know Kyle Schwarber, over the course of the last year and a half, leads all of Major League Baseball in home runs against lefties? That's kind of wild. Fun talk.
I would not have guessed that.
Me either, but he does. It's a wild fact that I learned, I don't know, sometime last week.
Confirmed big home run hitter, Kyle Schwarber.
Yep, and I'm sure he gets a lot of opportunities against lefties because they go to the pen against him with a lefty a lot. So he's figured it out. He is crushing them at the moment. Absolutely insane lefty power. Crawford boxes, Apo Taco. Don't completely hate it. Donovan Solano. No, thank you. Even against Chris Paddock, who sucks. James Wood, Max Muncy. Which one? That's cheating. You don't get to. These cheaters.
Oh, there's nothing worse than double names in baseball.
Yeah, he needs to.
And that's not one I thought was coming either. You get used to it for
Luis
like
Garcia, we had to deal with for 2 years. That was awful. This is way worse because they're both position players.
It's truly miserable. It was always the worst for like setting up my sheets and then finding out that it wasn't mapped the way that I needed to, and I was always going to have a mistake without rebuilding everything. I don't miss that at all. Luckily, I don't worry about that at all anymore. I just load all of my stuff into the Stokastic sims and everything is exactly like I want it to be, and I don't have to do that extra work. It's so much better than screwing around with all my stuff manually on the back end.
Much easier, much better. And also then, you become just less, you're going to build less shit lineups on a day in, day out basis. I mean, I've made some calculated stance, and that's usually what I end up talking about on this slate is kind of where I'm going to differ slightly. Like I have higher Washington projections, kind of just like looking through all my stuff, just overlapping it. So like Washington, I like a little bit more, but I like San Diego as well. I'll kind of just tailor-made those lineups the way that I want once we get to lock of that game and kind of see how all the stuff earlier on goes on. Soto 3 home runs, I will kill myself. I don't need to do that. So you can cheer for Soto 3 home runs. I'll be dead.
Well, we had a lot of questions about it before. I didn't really mention it. Like hitting weather is awesome pretty much everywhere. From an actual like, should we be nervous about weather perspective? Chicago and St. Louis might get a little wet. Dodgers in Colorado might get a little wet, but I don't think that there's anything out there that you need to like worry about today.
Yeah, in year longs, I was worried because Tariq Skubal, but they moved that start time back an hour and a half. So that game doesn't start till 8 p.m. Eastern time. They just always do that to make sure that he has a clean outing. They don't want to start it and have him stop in the middle of it. So Tariq Skubal is really good today. Unfortunately, not on the main slate.
Well, we started this bad boy an hour ago, and now we are 15 seconds away from lock. I'm excited to go watch some baseball. I haven't been able to carve out time to just put games on in months. Well, obviously, months being the start of the MLB season, but you guys know what I mean. It's time now to just throw on MLB TV, leave the game on. It's great. And it works so much better than NBA TV, if we're being perfectly honest.
And you got
go Padres
trades going down for you. We've got the draft tomorrow, which how did this happen? How is the draft tomorrow? Like unbelievable stuff. And so, yeah, draft's tomorrow.
I don't really pay attention to it. Like transactionally I do, but like I don't pretend to know who the best 11th pick could possibly be. I don't know any of these guys, but I'll be watching it to find out if anybody gets shipped out. Hopefully they do, because that's way more interesting to me, and that's what I want to talk about. But we are here now. We are locked. Guys, I've got nothing else to add here. Eric, tell the people what you've got going on every day.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, I've been in the baseball streets a lot for the last couple of months. MLB Live Before Lock, you find me here every single day of the week. And then MLB Lindy's Leans, Likes, and Locks over on the OddsShopper YouTube channel. Got my Lindy's Long Balls thread. We're up over 8 units now, all of it tracked, publicly recorded here over on X for you. If you weren't a coward like me and bet everything for a unit, you'd be up 33 plus units. So that would be useful. But yeah, I just continue to plot along 25, 30 bucks at a time here. And then, we're just making money for people for free over on X every day.
There we go, everybody. Don't forget, sign up at Stokastic or OddsShopper, whether you're looking for DFS or sports betting. We're going to have you completely covered. All of those links are in the description of this video. Good luck tonight. I hope you're joining me on the same stacks and pitchers. And if you're not, I hope you don't win. Talk to you later.
Always a good send-off.